Well, U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. is closing in on its military objectives in West Asia, signaling a potential winding down of operations against the Iranian regime. In a major statement, Trump said that Israel will likely be ready to end its war with Iran once U.S. operations conclude. He, however, dismissed the idea of a ceasefire outright. Speaking at the White House, Trump outlined a 5-point plan for victory ranging from the total degradation of Tehran's missile capabilities to securing the Strait of Hormuz. In a detailed post, President Trump listed 5 core objectives, and this includes completely degrading Iranian missile capabilities and launchers, destroying Iran's defense industrial base, eliminating Iran's Navy and Air Force, permanently prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, and protect regional allies like Israel, Saudi Arabia and UAE at the highest level.
Mr. President, do you think Israel will be ready to end the war when you're ready to end the war?
I think so, yeah.
As U.S. mounts winding down operation, a major sticking point remains the Strait of Hormuz. While President Trump called the reopening of the strategic waterway a simple military maneuver, he, however, insisted that the U.S. shouldn't have to do it alone, pointing the finger at nations that rely on its oil.
You know, we don't use the strait. The United States, we don't need it. Europe needs it. Korea, Japan, China, a lot of other people. So they'll have to get involved a little bit on that one.
While the U.S. is also reportedly considering plans to occupy or blockade Iran's strategically crucial Kurg Island to pressure Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. is reportedly preparing to send 3 more warships and thousands of more troops to West Asia. According to reports, the Pentagon has already deployed the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is a rapid response force of about 2,200 Marines to West Asia. Officials also confirmed the USS Boxer was also leaving the U.S. nearly 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Military officials have not disclosed what missions the Marines will be tasked with once on the ground. To discuss more on this, we are currently being joined by Dr. Avner Cohen, live from Monterey, California. He's the professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies at Middlebury Institute. Welcome to WION World is One, Professor.
Thank you.
Well, even as President Donald Trump says he's winding down the war, contrary to this, reports suggest the U.S. is actively considering sending ground forces, additional warships and Marines to West Asia. And, Professor, there are also reports that Washington is exploring options to secure or extract Iran's nuclear materials. The IRGC, on the other hand, says it has now carried out its 70th wave of strikes, hitting over 55 locations across the region, including U.S.-linked assets, of course. So with that scale of retaliation continuing, can the war even slow down? And just to be clear, could President Trump actually wind down the war at this point of time, or could he be fighting a goalless war?
I think he would like very, very much to wind down the effort of the war. The war caused him enormous amount of damage domestically. As you mentioned, the stock market is plunging. There is a strong domestic pressure towards the midterm to end this, but he doesn't have a good exit point, and therefore he was stuck. And the lesson that we learn is that even if you have superior power, and it's 2 countries with very, very strong military sides, to defeat a large country like Iran, 90 million people with the vast territory it has, it's not a trivial thing. So Iran has shown that it can, what we used to call the sumud, to hold on for the time being, and they have the Strait of Hormuz. So the president would love to end it. He is looking for an exit point, and as of now, he doesn't have it. Also, we see by now divergence of interest between Israel and the United States. As the president would like to end it, Israel would like to push towards actually to double down towards really weakening and perhaps toppling the regime in Iran, a mission which it's not that clear that it's visible, that it's feasible.
Professor Cohen, we know that Saudi Arabia has agreed to open King Fahd Air Base in Taif for expanded U.S. access. At the same time, The UAE has told US officials it is prepared for a prolonged conflict of up to 9 months even, while both countries have already intercepted hundreds of incoming attacks. It has begun to look like the Gulf states are being operationally drawn into the war with Iran. Are they inching closer to being active offensive parties in the war? Also, do you think this apparent support could have ensured President Trump's move to bolster operations in West Asia?
Well, the Arab Gulf states are in a very, very precarious situations. As you mentioned, they took a lot of measures, defensive measure, to intercept, to stop, to take some measures against Iranians' daily attacks. In fact, until a day or 2 days ago, Iran attacks more of those states than Israel. And yet they have all, even though they are not happy at all about what's going on, they have not ended diplomatic relationship. They have not sent out the Iranian embassy people outside of their countries, except one case they sent a military attaché. And definitely they have not taken any offensive military action. They're sitting in that respect on the fence to see what happens. They would love Iran to be defeated, and yet they're not sure if that can be done. And since they have a neighbor that they have to leave, they're not ready to take any actions. And they get nervous, and their vulnerability is more and more obvious. They are very vulnerable. Their economies are badly, badly damaged so far.
Well, Professor, we know at the same time as the military escalation, the U.S. has issued temporary waivers allowing Iranian oil to re-enter global markets to ease supply pressures. Officials even say the waiver could bring over 100 million barrels of oil into the market quickly. It looks like the U.S. is fighting Iran militarily while stabilizing it economically at the same time. Has Trump run out of options? How should we read this?
Well, I don't think it makes that much difference. So to remove for the time being those sanctions on Iranian oil, I don't think it makes that much difference. I mean, the price of oil has skyrocketing. It has impact, even though the U.S. has its own oil, it definitely does have impact on the American economy. It has very strong impact on American friends in the Gulf and the rest of Western economy. Global economy. So this is a minor issue to try to soften the damage, but the damage is already very significant, economic damage.
Professor, I'd also like to get your insights on countries beyond West Asia and alliances beyond West Asia which are involved now. The UK has given the green light for US strikes from its bases, but it still insists this falls under collective self-defense and does not make Britain part of the war. When does providing a platform for strikes stop being defensive support and become active participation, which Iran already considered to be so, because Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says Britain is now putting the British lives in danger by allowing those bases to be used and has warned of a right to respond. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah. As you know, Iran already today launched, I believe, 2 missiles at Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia is the British base, 4,000 kilometers from Iran. Iran, in fact, revealed that it has missiles much longer in range than people had thought. People thought that Iran range is about 2,000, 2,500 kilometers. They were able to hit targets. They didn't hit the target itself, but around the target for about 4,000. It's make some kind of change in calculation. I think the British decided to move towards the U.S. I don't think that the Iranians' warning will have much to do, but it's the fact that they already started to launch missiles at Diego Garcia is interesting. It just showed that the escalation of the entire war, to areas that we have not seen before.
Well, we also know that Trump has gone as far as calling NATO allies cowards for not helping reopen the strait, even as oil prices rise globally. In the middle of an active conflict as this one, how damaging could this kind of language be to the alliance coordination? Does it weaken the very support that the U.S. is asking for again and again?
It's very damaging for the alliance. I think NATO alliance has been weakened very, very badly by this war. Now we learn actually that Denmark has thought to take some offensive measures in defending Greenland. Just a few months ago, we didn't know it at the time. This was already a strain on the alliance. And now the fact that the European, all of them, in fact, said we have not been consulted. This is not our war. Once the war will be over, we'll be ready to consider some kind of measures to keep the Strait of Hormuz open in some kind of arrangement. That means a very deep strain on the alliance. And it's not clear to me how the alliance can recover for both sides, for the US side and for the European side.
Well, Professor, as we speak of it, at the same time, Hezbollah has launched dozens of attacks in a single day, opening intense pressure on Israel from another front. I'd like to know what breaks first and what does the future of the world look like when a conflict starts stretching just across multiple fronts like this?
Well, the future of Hezbollah very much depends on the future of the war against Iran. If Iran indeed will be defeated in a significant way, that most likely would be also the end of Hezbollah. There is also, Israel has difficulties to have a full war on two frontiers, and therefore their response to Hezbollah has been somewhat cautious. Air attacks, but not much putting inside ground troops. There is also an effort to try to explore possibilities of movement within the Lebanese government, including talking about peace talks and a way politically to remove Hezbollah. I think the priority is still the Iranian frontiers, and Israel still consider Hezbollah as a problem, but a secondary problem. The first one is Iran.
Professor, we also have reports that United Nations will be helping reopen the Strait of Hormuz. As Guterres, the UN Secretary General, has said the UN is prepared to help reopen the strait, noting that the international body has also helped broker a similar deal in the Black Sea between Russia and Ukraine to allow the transport of Ukrainian grain and fertilizer. This was back in 2022. And United Nations is also saying that it is cooperating with Trump's Board of Peace. So overall, what do you look at? How do you look at United Nations and its role in the ongoing conflict?
It has a very diminished role. They would love to have some kind of role. Obviously, when we talk about the United Nations having a role, it means that you give a certain legitimacy and a certain place to Iran, something that the United States would not accept. So I don't think that the United States would like to have any role to the United Nations, and I don't think this is right now a serious talk. What's interesting is that the United States has learned that to keep those straits open, it's much more difficult than they thought a few weeks ago. They thought that if they can remove much of the Iranian Navy, and indeed Iranian Navy has been by and large demolished, there is maybe a third still exists, and nevertheless Iran still have much of control of those straits. So that problem was not foreseen before as a serious problem, and it's much serious than we realized at the time.
Well, I hear you, Professor. The situation is definitely more serious right now. Thank you for breaking this entire scenario for us and making time for us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.